Here's one for all the paranormal fans. In this terrifying tale from Romania, a travel vlogger decides to spend the night in the infamous Hoia Forest, aka the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania. And as the camera rolls, he discovers that this place is truly a creepy hotspot, because no matter what he does, the forest responds. So let's get into it. Our story begins with Alex, a man who vlogs about traveling to amazing places, talking to interesting people. You know, all the usual stuff you see on those travel channels. But today, he's going somewhere a bit different. He's going to the Hoia Baciu Forest in Transylvania, which has gained quite the reputation as the most haunted place in Romania. Some even call it the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, because once you go there, you never come back the same. There are so many weird things that have happened here. Like back in 2007, two Romanian tourists were hiking through the woods when they suddenly got lost. They wandered around for hours until they found a clearing with some ruins of an old building. They saw an eerie light coming out of the window, so they decided to check it out. When they went inside, they saw all these wooden dolls hanging from the ceiling, staring at them with blank eyes. They ran away screaming, but they never came back. Their bodies were found 3 days later, lying right where they had seen those creepy dolls. Then there's the case of a biker named Marius who was riding through the forest when his bike suddenly broke down. As he stood there trying to fix it, he started hearing whispers in the trees, and then he saw a ghostly woman in a white dress walking towards him. He watched her for a while, thinking it was a figment of his imagination, but then she disappeared, and when he turned his head, he hit a tree and ended up in the hospital with a broken arm. But maybe the strangest thing that happened in this forest was back in 2016 when a man named Ionita Ciobanu was camping overnight. He woke up in the middle of the night to what sounded like screams in the forest. Then he saw a bright white light coming from the corner of his eye. When he looked over, he saw a huge oval-shaped object hovering above the trees. It was making a loud humming noise, and it stayed there for about an hour before disappearing. So when Alex heard stories like this, he didn't believe it. At first, he thought it was just a bunch of made-up horror stories to scare tourists. You know, the kind of stories that are passed around by locals who want to make a buck off of scaring people. But then, he read about an experiment conducted by a paranormal investigation team. They set up camp in the forest, and as they were setting up their tents, they kept hearing strange noises like footsteps and whispers. One of the investigators, Cosman, decided to sit in the tent and wait to see what would happen. About 30 minutes later, he started feeling a strong presence inside the tent with him. He felt a hand on his shoulder, and then he heard a woman's voice whispering in his ear. Startled, he turned on his flashlight and saw a translucent figure standing next to him. The figure seemed to be a woman wearing a long white dress, and she had a sad expression on her face. Then, just as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished. So, if a group of paranormal investigators can have an encounter with ghosts, maybe it wasn't all made up. Alex wanted to get to the bottom of this, so he decided to spend the night in the forest himself. His friends told him not to do it, but he didn't listen. Maybe he was a little too confident, thinking that all these ghost stories were just a bunch of bull. Or maybe he was just plain stupid. Either way, he headed into the woods with a backpack full of supplies, including a camera to document his experience. It was late in the evening by the time he got to the forest. The trees were tall and dark, and the path was narrow and winding, but he kept walking deeper and deeper into the forest, trying not to think about all the ghost stories he'd heard. He found a spot away from the path and set up his tent. Then he sat down and started recording. "I'm setting up my tent right now in the middle of nowhere," he said to the camera. "I hope nothing scary comes and ruins my night." He laughed nervously and tried to change the subject. "Tomorrow, I'm going to hike to the top of the mountain and check out the ruins," he said. "Apparently, there's some really cool medieval ruins up there that are worth checking out." He didn't mention that these ruins were actually the same ones where the two tourists had seen the creepy dolls hanging from the walls. As the night wore on, he kept hearing strange noises outside the tent, whispers and footsteps and what sounded like screams in the distance. But he just kept telling himself that it was just the wind or some wild animals. Then he started feeling like he was being watched. He could feel eyes on him, staring at him from just outside the tent. He could hear the rustle of leaves and the snapping of twigs, but when he opened the tent to look, he saw nothing. He tried to stay calm, but he couldn't help but feel a sense of dread washing over him. It was like the forest itself was closing in on him, suffocating him with its darkness and secrets. He started to regret his decision to stay there alone. He wished he'd brought his friends or at least a flashlight, but he knew there was no use in regretting it now. He had to make the best of the situation and just hope that nothing scary came his way. He closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but the sounds outside the tent kept him awake. He tossed and turned in his tent, listening to the whispers and footsteps getting closer and closer until he couldn't take it anymore. He unzipped the tent and stepped out into the darkness. "I can't take this anymore," he said to the camera. "I'm leaving." He started walking away from the tent, deeper into the forest. The trees seemed to be watching him, their branches like gnarled fingers reaching out to grab him. Just as he was about to give up and go back to the tent, he saw a light in the distance, a soft, ethereal glow that seemed to be calling to him. Hope surged through him. Maybe this was a sign that he was on the right track, that he was actually going to find something in this cursed forest. He walked towards the light, his camera held out in front of him like a weapon. But as he got closer, the light started to flicker and fade. It was like the forest itself was playing with him, teasing him with hope only to snuff it out again. He stopped and turned around, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to get out of there. He turned and ran, stumbling over roots and rocks, desperate to get away from the forest. He didn't know what was out there, but he knew he didn't want to find out. He burst out of the trees and onto a dirt road. He didn't stop running until he reached a small village a few miles away. Shaking and exhausted, he made it back to his car and slammed the door behind him. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. He had made it out alive. But as he turned to leave, he noticed something strange in the back seat. His camera was recording. He checked the battery, and it was almost dead. But the footage kept rolling. He watched as his terrified face stared back at him, illuminated by the eerie glow of the forest. In the background, he could see a dark shape moving through the trees. He rewound the tape and watched it again, but it was too blurry to make out what it was. Was it a person or something else entirely? Had he been followed the entire time? And what was that voice he heard whispering in his ear? When he finally got home and uploaded the video, he was shocked by what he saw. The video he uploaded wasn't the one he edited. It was something much worse. In the video he posted, he could see himself doing things he didn't remember doing. He looked different, his eyes were blank and soulless, and he was saying things he never said in the original recording. For example, he kept repeating the same phrase over and over again, "We are the forest, we are the trees." And the creepiest part, in the background, he could see a dark shape following him, always keeping a safe distance, but never disappearing. It was like a shadow following its master. Now, you're probably wondering what happened to Alex after he realized that his mind had somehow been manipulated and used against him. Well, he never found out. After he posted that video, he disappeared. Some say the forest took him, never to be seen again. Others say he's still out there somewhere, wandering the earth, forever haunted by what he experienced in the forest. And that's the story. You know what I love about these type of stories? The twist ending. It's such a simple device, but it really keeps you on your toes. In a story that's all about facing your fears and confronting the unknown, it's nice to be kept guessing till the very end. It adds an extra layer of suspense and intrigue that makes the whole story more exciting and unpredictable. And this one takes it to a whole another level because not only does he have to deal with all the spooky stuff in the forest, but he also has to deal with the fact that his own mind might not be his own. And hey, if you like this story, we've got plenty more where that came from. Just click on this playlist over here for more spine-chilling tales. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Your support keeps this channel alive and lets us bring you even more creepy, mysterious content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.